Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Dillon.
And welcome to the Adaptation Station Season 3 wrap-up video where we give you a look back at everything that we've done across all 3 seasons. And this season we're going to give you some recommendations for our favorite things. If you have watched our previous wrap-ups, Season 1, we kind of give you some recommendations like top 5 combined from the show and some of our individual recommendations. Season 2, we went over some interesting stats after, at that point.
See who's a more harsh critic.
Yeah.
If we like the first one better than the second one.
And
like
the reason we did that is our top things didn't change very much from Season 1 to Season 2. And in a similar manner, the statistics didn't change a whole lot from Season 2 to 3, so we're going to go back and give you some recommendations of our individual things, because those did change a lot since Season 1, last time we presented them.
This new season had a big impact for us individually. We have now reviewed 48 different things, and we disagree sometimes.
Yeah.
So this time we want to give you each our individual recommendations. So do you want to go first with your top 5 books we've read?
Yeah, I'll go with my top 5 books. Number 5 is A Case of Need by Michael Crichton, writing as Jeffrey Hudson. But that is one that I remembered that I really like. I'm a big Crichton fan. I know you didn't like that book as much.
Yeah.
But it makes my top 5 there. Very early one of his. I wouldn't say the best of his, but
we'll still read more. I'm excited to read more, even though I didn't like that one as much.
And then my number 4, The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. That one was so thrilling that it was great. I just zoomed right through that one. Number 3 for me, which is actually this is tied for 2. I have a tie at number 2 here between The Prestige by Christopher Priest and The Langoliers, the novella by Stephen King.
Yeah.
I liked both of those for different reasons. The Langoliers, similar to Cabin at the End of the World, I liked it. I kind of zoomed right through that. It was interesting in that way. The Prestige was interesting, the idea behind it all, and the way that it really got me into the atmosphere, the setting of
the time period
and everything.
Yeah.
Really well. But then my number 1 book that we've done, All the Pretty Horses, Cormac McCarthy, one of my favorite books ever.
Yeah.
And
do you have an honorable mention? What was your number 6?
My honorable mention, my number 6 is the short story Why Don't You Dance by Raymond Carver.
That's funny because your honorable mention is the only one in my top 5.
Oh, wow.
From your list. Okay. So we have very different lists because my number 5 is NW by Zadie Smith. I suggested we do this one because I'm a big fan of Zadie Smith. I like her first novel, White Teeth, the best, but NW is also very interesting, kind of experimental in the style that it's written. So that one made it to my top 5. And then number 4 for me is the short story Why Don't You Dance by Raymond Carver. We both really liked that story, and that one makes it into my top 5. My number 3 is a Michael Crichton, but not A Case of Need. It is Sphere. I loved Sphere. It was only my second Michael Crichton book I had read. Because I
Andromeda Strain.
Yeah, right? I read the Andromeda Strain. Really liked that. And then Sphere, I liked that one even more. That's a pretty long book, but I read through that one real quick. Number 2 is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. From this season, I mean, that one is a classic, and I think it deserves to be a classic. Very entertaining. And then my number 1 is one of my personal favorite books, also from this season that you did not like so much. That is King Lear, the tragic play by William Shakespeare.
Yeah, a couple of classics up at the top of your list.
Yeah.
Classic reading.
That makes me feel like, I don't know, just boring English teacher vibes, like kind of obvious picks for me. But then I have Michael Crichton right underneath that, so that's a little sci-fi in the mix.
Yeah.
But my honorable mention at number 6 is another Shakespeare play. Twelfth Night is my number 6, because that one was funny and entertaining. So I have a comedy and a tragedy.
That's
from
interesting.
Shakespeare up there.
Yeah, I was just noticing that if you get a little loose with mine, you could tell that I'm kind of a horror fan. I got Cabin at the End of the World, The Langoliers, and then you can consider The Prestige kind of a little horror-y, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I got kind of like ghost story type of thing a little bit. All right, so those are our top 5 favorite books, but we also read some books that we did not like. So before we move on to movies, can you tell them what was your one least favorite thing we read?
Yeah, and disappointment to you, I know, because my least favorite is your absolute favorite, King Lear by William Shakespeare.
Gosh.
That's the worst one that I have read. Although only rated it a 5 out of 10, so it's not like the most horrible. You have a lot lower ratings in there.
That's true.
That's the lowest rated book that I have.
It is sad that my number one is your bottom one in terms of books. But yes, my least favorite thing we've read, I give a 2 out of 10, so much lower, and that is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. Couldn't stand that book. I was so happy when it was over.
Yeah, I get it.
So that's the stuff we didn't like. Let's move on to movies that we did like. What's your top 5?
All right, my number 5 movie is The Green Knight. Based on the Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And yeah, that's just a very interesting stylistically, it presents its own style. It's great. It makes you kind of think a lot about what are they getting at here with the idea, while still being pretty faithful to the original
for sure,
epic poem.
Yeah.
And my number 4 is Bullet Train. That was a thriller of a movie. I liked it, even if it was, different in ways from the book. I think I liked the book a little bit better, but the movie still hits my top 5. My number 3 movie is Jackie Brown.
Oh yeah.
By Quentin Tarantino. And I know that's one that you didn't like. But
not so much, but I liked it better than the book.
It's not one of my favorite Tarantino's, but I did like it a little better on a rewatch. And like we agree in that one, Robert De Niro was a great performance in that one. My number 2 movie is Drive My Car. I want to watch this one again. I still haven't watched it a second time, but it's another one. It's long, but I like those movies that really make you think. About what that message is, and this one really did that for me.
Pretty impressive. It's based on a short story, too.
Yeah, it is so long.
Movie. Yeah, but underrated.
And my number 1 movie, my perfect 10 out of 10, Under the Skin. So creepy and unnerving, and it just, to me, it just did everything perfect what it was trying to do. So that's my number 1.
What's your honorable mention?
My honorable mention, which is kind of a surprising one to me. Actually, I have to give 2 honorable mentions because I got 2 tied here for number 6. And that's A Time to Kill and King of Texas. Both of those from season 3. Both of those surprising to me. Yeah. Both of those I went into not expecting to like them. I mean, A Time to Kill, when you just look at like the movie poster or whatever for it, it just looks like generic 90s movie.
It does, but great cast.
It does have a great cast, but sometimes, the cast isn't always everything. I mean, especially like Samuel L. Jackson is in everything.
That's true.
So he's in some bad movies too. Yeah. So, and then King of Texas, made-for-TV movie, I'm like, Patrick Stewart as a Texas rancher? How is that going to work? Works out actually great. Those ones are good.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I was also very pleasantly surprised by King of Texas, so maybe we'll see that on my list. But mine is very different from yours yet again, because my number 5 movie was The Prestige. I actually liked the movie more than the book. I did watch it before reading it. But Christopher Nolan movies are always interesting, and I like the way that one was thrown together. It was very interesting, kept me guessing. And then my number 4 movie is actually Sphere, the Sphere movie.
Big Sphere fan.
Yeah, I get why some people don't rate it super high as a movie, but I just loved the book so much that it was really entertaining to see it on screen. And Samuel L. Jackson, I thought Samuel L. Jackson was really good in his role. and Dustin Hoffman kind of playing off the creepiness of Samuel L. Jackson in it. So that one was super entertaining to me. My number 3 movie is Everything Must Go, based on another one of the stories from my top 5
That's
books.
true, yeah.
That's based on the Raymond Carver short story, Why Don't You Dance? That one's starring Will Ferrell in a less funny role for him. And I like Will Ferrell a lot, and I like when comedians do a more serious, dramatic role. So that one, I don't know, it just hit me in a way. And then right above that in my number 2 spot is King of Texas from this season, based on my favorite Shakespeare play, one of my favorite books. And I also went into it thinking, oh, it's a made-for-TV movie I've never heard of. It's probably not very good. But I thought it was really, really good. Almost a great movie. I thought, why have I never heard of this? Why haven't more people heard of it? It's just a very good Western drama. But my number 1 movie, my favorite movie we've watched, is also based on Shakespeare, but way better than the play. That is 10 Things I Hate About You, based on Taming of the Shrew. Yeah, love that movie. I'd like to rewatch that one.
Yeah.
Already by now.
Yeah, I've watched it since we watched it too, at least one more time. I might have watched it twice since then already.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it for us doing the episode, and then when we got together to film, we watched it again.
Oh, that's
together.
right.
Remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Why did we do that?
Just because it's so
Just
good.
because we wanted to watch it
Oh,
again.
because I had the DVD, and there's bloopers at the end I wanted to show you. So I thought, well, we got to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's very rewatchable.
Yeah. So what's your honorable mention, though?
Yeah, honorable mention for me is the Green Mile movie, which I liked better than Stephen King's book.
I think we both did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good drama. Not as good as maybe Shawshank Redemption, but Tom Hanks is always really good. Michael Clark Duncan as John Coffey is really good. And the guy from the Langoliers, the pilot, is one of them.
Yeah, the guy, again, a guy, I can never remember his name.
David Morse.
That sounds potentially
I'll put a correction
right.
up there if it's wrong. I remember I looked up
I always
the
forget
actors.
his guy's name, but I recognize him from a lot of things. Like he's in a lot of stuff.
It's pretty good. So that's my honorable mention. Those are movies we liked.
Yeah.
But
what's our least favorite?
Yeah. What's the worst movie you watched?
My least favorite movie is the first movie we did for this channel, The Last Duel.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand after reading the book and knowing the story is based on a true story. After reading the book, I couldn't stand that they did the movie in 3 parts, the same stuff from 3 different perspectives. I was so bored.
With only a few things changed.
Barely.
Like subtle changes.
Barely little subtle changes, and I was so bored in this movie. That's my least favorite movie that
Interesting.
we've watched.
I mean, that one doesn't rank highly for me, but I did enjoy that movie. Kind of interesting drama, some good action, but I get it. By the 3rd time it started over from the beginning, I was like, okay, can we get to the duel? So that's not my least favorite. My least favorite by far is The Great Gatsby movie by Baz Luhrmann. I give it a 1.5. That's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think that and Tusk I gave around the same score.
I agree with Tusk.
So those are like the 2 worst movies I can think of that I've ever seen. I love the book, and the movie it does the same things. The same things in the plot happen, same characters, some changes, some things missing, but just the way it's presented, I don't know, it seems like a totally different like fantasy version of the book that's totally different. So I can't stand that movie. Okay, so those were our separate recommendations for the best books and movies we have read and watched. Now it's up to you to decide which ones you want to read or watch, because we have very different opinions sometimes.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments what your favorites were that we've done. Let us know where you think we're wrong or right about what we've chosen for our favorites.
Yeah, and please give us some recommendations in the comments below. What's your favorite book to movie pair? We have some ideas already. We are getting ready to prepare for season 4, year 4 of Adaptation Station. But we love hearing recommendations, and whenever we get one in the comments, we move it quickly up the list so we can make an episode on that. Yeah, as for all these books and movies, viewer, you tell me which is better, which is the best.
Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends to tune in too. They might find something they like on here.
Yeah, and you can click another video now. Thank you. Bye.